Yo, 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 people and patrons of the night. It is back once again with your boy, BD. I am the host of the Horror Tavern, and today I have another horror movie review. That's right, you guys are probably thinking I'm reviewing a lot of horror movies recently, but once again, it's because I'm on summer break from college. I'm just working right now. I don't got to balance doing work and college, so I have a lot of free time, and I'm able to watch a lot of horror movies that I wasn't able to watch when I was really busy. So I'm trying to optimize that to the best of my capability. And excuse me, also getting over a bad coughing spree that you guys know about if you've seen my recent videos. But because of all these horror movies that I've been seeing, I want to cover some of them during this summer break because some of the movies that I chose was actually specifically because of the season. And the horror movie that I'm talking about today, I specifically chose for that. So because I'm talking about a movie that links to summer, if you didn't know what the title of this video was, you could probably guess what horror movie I'm talking about. And that is I Know What You Did Last Summer, 1997. Now, I Know What You Did Last Summer, 1997 is a thriller slash murder mystery slash slasher kind of movie of the late 70s, is it late 70s? Late 90s. And obviously, I was born in the early 2000s. I'm 21 years old, but a lot of stuff from the late 90s often reran during the early 2000s. And I have never seen this movie, but I've experienced the premise and other stuff. Specifically, I read my first Fear Street book, which was the third book, I think, in the OG series, which was Fear Street the Overnight. And Fear Street the Overnight, from what I saw in reviews and what people said, had a I Know What You Did Last Summer type of premise. And even I sort of knew that when I was reading the book because I've heard about this premise before and other stuff. So I finally decided, you know what, let me pull the plug and finally watch this movie. And it was a pretty good film. It has its problems. It has some fair share of problems towards the later half, but I think it's a fun enough movie, and I can get if people are very critical towards it, but I think it embodies a good sort of, thriller, slasher feel. It has that sort of, typical tropes that you get in a lot of young adult horror stuff. And even though it may be sort of basic in certain regards, even though it may be over the top in others, I think it's a fun enough time. If you just watch it for what it is, treat it for what it is. So yeah, I thought this was a pretty good movie. It's not a great, fantastic movie. If I had to compare great and fantastic stuff to anything, it would be, not sponsored by the way, cereal popcorn, Fruity Pebbles. This is the, any media that I read or watch, it gets this if it's like a 9 out of 10 or higher. 9 out of 10 to 10 out of 10, really great, fantastic stuff gets this. And then, of course, yesterday I had the candy popcorn Snickers, and that was a really good. That's like a I don't know, 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 higher. Those are really good movies and really good media. But this movie, best way I can compare it to, this movie's like Pringles. It's good. It's pretty good. It's nothing extraordinary. It comes with problems. A lot of people probably aren't that big a fan of it, but if you treat it for what it is, I think you'll have a fun time with this film. So let's talk about I Know What You Did Last Summer, 1997. So this movie stars 4 main actors who play these seniors in high school that are about to go into their college years, venture off into various different paths. They all live in this small town, and I forgot what the name of the town was. But the 4 main characters, first is, and I'm just going to list off the actors' names because I'm going to be real, I don't remember the characters' names. They're just sort of typical, bare basic characters. But Sarah Michelle Gellar plays the blonde girl in the friend group. This blonde girl is very attractive. She's very confident, very popular, and she's participating in a beauty pageant that happens every 4th of July in this town. And Sarah Michelle Gellar actually plays Daphne in the live-action Scooby-Doo movie. So I thought that was really cool. And another one of the characters in this main friend group is Freddie Prinze Jr. And Freddie Prinze Jr. plays this sort of, good-looking, high schooler guy that's, he's, I think, in a relationship with another one of the girls that's in this group, not Sarah Michelle Gellar, she's with another guy, but he's in a relationship with the other girl in the group, and he's sort of like a quiet, reserved guy. He has a sort of like uncomfortable charm to him. Like he's sort of like awkward and can be nervous at times, but that sort of plays into his charm. And Freddie Prinze Jr. played Fred in the live action Scooby-Doo movie. And of course, Sarah Michelle Gellar and Fred are married. So this is basically the movie where it all started, where Sarah and Freddie met each other. And then of course they went into the live action Scooby-Doo movie. So I thought that was really cool. I didn't realize that until I picked up this movie and I watched it, and I was like, wait, that's Fred from the live action. And then I'm like, wait, that's Daphne. Wait, they're a couple. Oh, this is where it started. So those are two of the characters. The other character in here is the main girl in the group. And she's this quiet, reserved girl who basically wants to go and become a lawyer over in college. And she's played by, excuse me, Jennifer Love Hewitt. And then the final guy in this group is Ryan Phillip. And he plays this sort of like douchebag, very cocky sort of guy. He's always known for being sort of like an ass. He drinks a lot. He comes from like a wealthy family. I think they live in like a big beach house. So yeah, that's the four main friends that are in this friend group. And it's funny because once you watch this movie, if you've seen the first Scary Movie 1, you realize how much of I Know What You Did Last Summer they sort of parodied. And I sort of realized that when I looked at Jennifer Love Hewitt, and she's just like the main character in that movie. And there's obviously scenes in this movie that are parodied there. So yeah, this is the four main groups of friends in this movie. And it's 4th of July, and they're all basically on the beach. They're partying. There's this big fair going on, this beauty pageant. And they're all sort of celebrating, drinking, having a good time with each other. You get introduced to all four of them. And as they're really drunk, they get into some, they sort of like talk to each other. They talk about the different pageant and fair that's going on this 4th of July weekend. And then they run into this guy named Max. And this guy, Max, seems to have a crush on Jennifer Love Hewitt's character. And Ryan Phillip, the douchebag guy in the group, basically starts acting like an ass, starts a fight with them. They break off from the big crowd that's in this 4th of July party. And then they go off to the beach. And in the beach, they're around, this sort of like campfire that they made. And they're just mingling and talking with each other and having a good time. And they talk about this urban legend. And this urban legend is very popular. A lot of you guys may know it. It's been adapted into a lot of stuff. It's been in a lot of things. And even like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark had this as one of the urban legend stories in that book. And this is The Hook. They start talking about the Hook, the urban legend of the Hook. They talk about the different iterations of it. They start debating with each other what's actually the way the story is told, whether, like they heard scratching on the door while they were over at this sort of Love Point kind of place, whether someone's got decapitated. They start debating all the different details about this urban legend, just trying to scare each other and have some fun. And then they both, both of the groups, both of the couples, Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. go off in one direction, and then Sarah Michelle Gellar and Ryan Phillip go into a different direction. And, they're sort of trying to get frisky, get it on, have a good time. Again, drink, party, have sex, all that stuff that teenagers and high schoolers do. And then eventually they hop into a car and they're about to drive away for the night, and they get into a really, really bad situation where they run over somebody. Yeah, that's right. They're really, really drunk. They're all like, Freddie Prinze Jr. is driving the car, and then the guy, the douchebag guy, starts acting like a dick. He's super, super drunk. He starts messing around in the car, and because he was messing around in the car, they ran over somebody, and it hits him in the face. He knocks back from the sunroof down into the car, and then they start investigating, and they find out, yeah, we really did kill somebody. And now they're in a bad situation, because since they ran over this guy, if they call the police, they're going to be incriminated basically, because they're all extremely drunk. The police are going to think that they were drunk driving and hit him, so they're going to end up getting jail time. It's Ryan Phillip's car, the douchebag guy, it's his car, so he could end up going to jail. But the quieter guy that was driving the car, he could end up going to jail because he was the one driving it. So their lives are basically at jeopardy because of this crime that they've committed by accident. But again, it was their own negligence that caused it. So they debate whether they should call the police and do the right thing, get the authorities involved, or if they should pretend that they never even saw this, that they go and, get rid of the body, maybe ignore it, and then pretend that they've never heard about this their entire life, and just avoid any, confrontation by the police. And what ends up happening is that as they start, debating and freaking out with each other, Max, the guy that the Ryan Phillip got into an argument with before, him and his character and this Max guy ended up getting into a fight because obviously Max is into the main girl, Jennifer Love Hewitt's character, and he starts driving around and they realize that, oh shit, this car is coming. They could possibly catch us with this dead body. They could end up calling the police and we end up getting, excuse me, arrested anyway. So they end up trying to drag the body over to the edge of the ravine that's at the end of this road. And the car pulls up, excuse me, and they see Max. And Max, they right away figure out, okay, he's got beef with us. He's going to be one of the first people to tell on us if he sees what we're doing. So they try to play it off and they make the main girl go run off. This is really bad, y'all. They make the main girl go talk to Max, sort of mingle with him, try to lead him away from what's happening over here. And obviously he's into her, so he listens to her. But then he starts slowly driving forward as, he's sort of let off. And he starts kind of looking and seeing, what exactly they're doing because all of them are sort of acting suspiciously. But eventually he drives off and they think that they got away with it. And now they have to go and dump the body. So they go by the edge of this lake, or not lake, but the edge of the ocean. And they decide that if we dump this body into the ocean, the wave currents are going to pull it away and potentially police will never find out that we actually killed this person. And we could basically get away almost scot-free with the situation. And as they dump the body into the water, something really bad happens, which is that they find out that the guy was actually alive. And he grabs a hold of him and they start freaking out and they push him into the water. And obviously he's down there drowning, but he took the pageant girl, the popular blonde girl's tiara that she was wearing for the pageant and brought it down there. So she wants it back because potentially that could lead to evidence that gets caught up later. So the kind of cocky douchebag sort of guy who's drunk dives into the water and then goes down there to snatch the tiara. And as he snatches it, the guy who's down there's eyes open wide and stare straight at him. And he's like, oh shit, he's alive. But his body is mangled and mauled, so he can't swim out of there. And as he surfaces back to the water and they get back all to the dock, they realize that they really did murder this guy. That not only did they run him over, but now they've officially drowned him. And they have this sort of moral guilt on their conscience, but they all take a vow that we're never going to speak about this again. We're going to pretend it never happened, and we'll move on with their lives. And that's where the plot sort of takes off. And as the time goes by, the years go by until the next summer arrives, you can see that all of them are sort of dealing with the guilt in really bad ways. The main girl, who's supposed to go to law school and become a lawyer, she's not doing well in school. Her grades are going down. She seems really, really depressed all the time. And when she returns back to her summer town that she lives, her mother sees that something's off with her. She has to keep in her guilt. And eventually when she gets into her house, she gets this letter written in this crude handwriting. And when she opens it up, it's just a single note inside of the envelope. And in the, note, it has this text over it that says, I know what you did last summer, which basically reveals that somebody during that night at some point or period, or maybe even after, found out that these kids were responsible for killing and drowning a guy. So right away she becomes paranoid and she tries to go find some of her friends and contact them. So she goes to the blonde girl's older sister who works in this apparel store, and tries to get her phone number because she knows that the older sister knows that the blonde girl had gone to New York and tried to get a modeling career there, I think. And when she gets to the store, she finds out that no, the blonde girl in the friend group did not go to her modeling career in New York. It actually ended up failing, and she came back to work here in the apparel store for her sister. So again, this is showing how all their lives are sort of going in poor directions. They go and meet up with the douchebag guy in the group, and he's obviously in this very expensive beach house, and he's very hostile towards them. He tells the two girls to basically fuck off. He doesn't want to see him again because he thinks that they're way too paranoid, that they might get him caught up, and he's sort of living this wonderful, luxurious life, a happy life. He doesn't want them interfering with that. But the main girl tells him, I got this note. I got this note and this is a sign that somebody possibly saw us. And even, he starts getting paranoid. He starts worrying who it might be. They come to the conclusion that it might be Max, the guy who drove by the scene of the crime during that night. They go and confront him, and Max is very much surprised. He acts like he doesn't know what they're talking about. But the douchebag guy threatens him and threatens to kill him and says, "Don't say anything if you know what's good for you." And Max gets pissed off. And as the story progresses, they go and find their other friend, the quiet guy in the group, and he became a fisherman. He works for his dad's company. So they all group together and they all think that, you know what, we might be too paranoid. We might be overthinking things. This could all just be one bad prank. And if it's due to Max, the douchebag guy says, I took care of it. It's done. I threatened him. I told him to keep his mouth shut. However, then we get a scene with Max. And Max is in the, docking. He's at the fish dock working on some fish and getting them prepared. And we see an unknown cloaked figure grab a fishing hook from the dock. And this was a giant hook that the blonde guy in the group had used to threaten Max with. This guy grabs it and then he ends up actually killing Max. And this unknown figure kills Max and reveals that Max was actually not guilty. He actually was serious about being surprised about the accusations, and that there is still an unknown figure who not only knows about the scene of the crime that these teenagers were involved in, but now he's targeting them as a slasher. And you then get into the slasher aspect of the movie, where now these kids are being harassed and they all get targeted. The blonde guy in the group gets targeted. He has a near-death situation at the gym and basically gets run over. He survives, but he gets fucked up. And the blonde girl has this slasher figure break into her house and slice up her hair and cut it up before she goes into the beauty pageant. So they realize very quickly that this ominous figure is now tracking them, harassing them, blackmailing them, and trying to threaten their lives and kill them. So this psychopath is after them, and they don't know what to do because they can't go to the police. If they go to the police, they're going to rat on themselves about what happened during last summer. But obviously, if they don't go to the authorities or get some help, they're all going to keep getting targeted, harassed, and potentially killed by this guy. So this is a very intense situation. And that's basically the premise of the movie. I don't want to go too much into it because it's a very in-depth sort of murder mystery. It can be very easy to spoil. But yeah, this is a pretty good movie. I'm sorry if I sound a little bit all over the place. But again, this movie can sometimes be all over the place in stuff that it's doing. There's a lot of random stuff that happens in here. But that being said, the first hour of this movie, I think is pretty good, if not straight up good. The first hour of the movie, you have a really good setup of this story with the whole I know what you did last summer premise. You get them doing this incredible, crime due to their negligence. You really get the sense that the actors play into how guilty they're supposed to feel. The actors and actresses do a good job playing their roles, how much they freak out, how much they're sort of, nervous about getting caught. And it's a really, really intense situation. And I did put myself into the mindset of what would I do? Because you do feel that sort of, moral dilemma of, okay, I could get locked up in jail for the rest of my life. My life ends up getting ruined. Or I could, pretend that this never happened, but then I'm going to live with the guilt. And you see this guilt start consuming each of the characters in their own different ways, which is really good to see, seeing that, the consequences of their actions are actually catching up to them emotionally and mentally, and now physically with the slasher aspect. So that stuff is all really good. I like the slasher in this movie. The slasher in this movie has a, again, fisherman gimmick to him, because obviously at the fishing dock he picks up this hook and he wears this cloak and sort of fishing hat. So this character takes on a fisherman persona, and the hook is to play into the urban legend that they talked about in the beginning of the movie with the Hook serial killer. So that was a sort of nice gimmick to see. And this fisherman slasher felt very much like SpongeBob, the hash slinging slasher. I know that might have been playing off of I Know What You Did Last Summer and what is it? The Hook urban legend. I think it was very much playing off of the Hook urban legend. I'm not sure when that SpongeBob episode came out, but it might have came out after, I Know What You Did Last Summer. I'm not sure. I have to double check. But yeah, this again felt very much like the hash slinging slasher running around and taking out these guys. And the stuff that the slasher does is very intense. Again, it's not a full-on slasher. The slasher doesn't go into complete gore and kill everybody. This person also harasses them and blackmails them. So there's an extra level of like villain, sort of villainy. Is that a word? Villainy that the character does, where it's not just physical trauma, it's also emotional and mental trauma that they're doing for some unknown reasons on these group of teenagers, and anybody that knows them, just like what happened to Max. And I like the stuff that this slasher does in the movie. I like the murder mystery for the most part. I like the thriller aspect. It is quite a thriller. But once it gets to the hour mark, and the last 40 minutes of this movie come in, and this is a movie that's an hour and 40 minutes, and it does feel longer. I've watched longer horror movies that don't feel as long. This one does feel long. Because again, that last 40 minutes of this movie, once it get past the hour mark, starts to become convoluted. There's a lot of layers that they keep throwing into this mystery. There's some fake outs, some really dumb fake outs that happen in certain climaxes of the movie. There's some, like, I don't know. There's some good kills, but there's some like really corny stuff that the slasher does. There's a scene involving the slasher and one of the characters in the movie that involved the back trunk of a car and a dead body and crabs. And if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. And when the character comes back after like 8-10 minutes, all that stuff in the back trunk is gone. That made no fucking sense. That was the most Looney Tunes, cartoony kind of thing that I saw in the movie. That I was like, that doesn't even, how does that make any sense? It just seemed, quirky to be quirky. It just didn't make any logical sense. And I was just sort of like, what the fuck was that? And again, as the movie comes on, you can tell it starts dragging. They start, drawing out the murder mystery, drawing out this investigation, drawing out the plot. And that climax scene is insane. It's got some things I like in there. There's one scene of seeing dead bodies all in like a giant room of ice, just under the ice. That was really cool. But the rest of the movie, it just starts getting crazier and crazier. And the twist ending to the movie is like the most slap in your face, stupid twist. I mean, it was one of the goofiest twists that I've ever seen in a slasher. So that's something you just got to keep in mind. I think it's a fun time as a movie. It's a good experience. But towards the later half, a little bit after the later half, it starts getting more and more bad shit. And I wouldn't say exactly in a good way. So do I like the movie still? I do. But again, it comes with the flaws. It's a little bit too goofy and cartoony at points. It starts becoming dragged on and convoluted in the plot of the story. Some of the fake out scenes you get are really stupid. Some of the acting scenes you get are corny. Still charming, but corny. And again, that twist ending was just... I did not like that twist ending at the end of the movie. But do I recommend you still check this out? Yeah. Go check out I Know What You Did Last Summer. I would give this movie a 7.3 out of 10, or maybe even I'll bump it up to a 7.5 out of 10. Just depends how I feel. This is a pretty good horror movie. It's a good thriller. It's a good murder mystery. It's a good slasher kind of film, all wrapped in one for most of it. And I think that there's enough in there for you to have a good time. It's just one of those movies that you sort of just turn off your brain. You watch it just to have a nice, relaxing feel watch, and I think you'll have a good time with it. If you like young adult horror, if you like this sort of thriller, slasher kind of thing, you should check out I Know What You Did Last Summer. And that's all I have for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, hit that subscribe button down below. It's free. The economy is increasing. Doing free things like that is very much welcomed. Hit that like button as well. It's also free. And comment down below your thoughts and opinions. Have you seen this movie, I Know What You Did Last Summer, 1997? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Do you disagree with my points? Or do you agree with my points? And what are some of your favorite thriller, slasher kind of movies? And how are the sequels? I have not seen the 2 sequels. I think they might be sort of stupid. So you can let me know how the sequels to I Know What You Did Last Summer are. And that's all I have for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Again, do as I said because it can help getting this video into the algorithm, which gets this content out there for you guys. I can keep pumping out more content. It would be very much appreciated. And we're almost at 300 subscribers. If we can hit that during the summer, I'm going to get something special planned. So enjoy your day. Enjoy the summer days. Go out and spend some time with your loved ones and your friends. And yeah, stay cool, stay classy. Deuces. I Know What You Did last summer. If I had to think about what I did last summer, traveling, eating good food, yeah, reading, watching, and a lot of pleasure time with little BD, if you get what I'm saying. Lonely summer days.